As from the producing, let's talk about the producing angle. How concerned were you about actually pulling it off? Because it's a complicated. Sharknado is a very complicated thing to pull off.
Film that really came together in the editing and the visual effects, and I saw none of that when I first read the script. Didn't have a lot of faith in it. Did it to provide for my family, get my health care from the union, and this would secure that I was going to have a baby. This was this was more about providing for my family rather than making art.
But for the fans, I mean, well, I grew up in the '50s and '70s where the monster movie was a big one. The big ants. You've actually kind of revitalized it. The Thing, exactly.
The crawling eye.
Yeah, but you actually brought that back. This is
right.
So did you feel a kinship? Like, wow, this genre has been lost for a long time. It's kind of nice that it's being embraced because your fans love it.
It's interesting you made those parallels because I do see a certain sameness about it where there were these grand, over-the-top, hard-to-believe villains, and the actors played it very straight in those movies, and so there are some parallels there. I didn't realize that at the time, but you've brought that to mind, and I have to agree with you.
Well, that's actually my students I was saying the exact same thing. The fact that you took it seriously gives it a little more weight, because if you were mocking it, you were mocking it, it would have been a distraction for the audience.
Yeah, well, the script never left room to mock it, and I have to take what the writer's given me, and every actor's shoots to elevate the material in any way they can by bringing their life to the character, and it just, there was never a doubt that Finn Shepard is a fish out of water, if I may, hero in this movie. He really just wanted to get back with his wife and found himself doing everything he can to do that, going out, on a limb to keep everybody safe.
It's actually interesting said. Now I'm thinking. Now you're getting me thinking. It was actually the emotional thing that makes it more interesting. It kind of carries you through it. Without the family thing, right, it would have just been. I think the movie would have been ignored.
That was the subtext for me. That was the fire. That was the why Finn Shepard did what he did. And there's nothing that guy wouldn't do for his family, and I just tried to embody that in bringing the character to life, and it just came across, all business, and that's how it played. It kind of worked out, I guess, huh?
So you've been part of two, Beverly Hills 90210 and this. The fans love these shows. How's it been for you, like the fan experience that come up to you? I know they come up all the time, but the appreciation, the actually joy that you've done lightning the bottle twice.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. This is my 47th year as a professional actor. Can't even believe that myself. But been very fortunate to be a part of projects that have, touched people in a very positive way of different demographics. I've done Malibu Rescue a couple of years back, and little kids come up to me and say, "Oh my God, you're Garvin," or Sharknado fans, 90210 fans. I've got Guiding Light fans from a soap opera I did in the late '80s, or Dancing with the Stars. All the grandmas that come up, "Oh, you should have won." It's being an actor is it's challenging and it's so rewarding, and when I really just wanted to sing and dance when I was a kid, and I parlayed class clown into a career. And, I don't do it for fame. It's a byproduct of being lucky and being prepared, being the right guy at the right time. And it's such a wonderful give back when someone comes up and tells me, "Hey, man, I see your stuff and I dig it, and you lit me up, and we named our kid Finn, or Steve Sanders was our favorite character," or whatever it was. It's very flattering, and I'm very grateful to be an actor and to be in a position where I've been a part of these projects that have had global recognition.
Did you realize you were making a documentary, or was that just no?
Yes, no. The entire time when we were doing this film, it was very, very important that we captured. So you know, when I come from Northern California, and out in the middle of nowhere, when I was a kid, there was a Sharknado that manifested itself, and all of us kind of banded together, and we had to stop it. And the only thing that we had in our vicinity, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, was this hardware store. So we went and got hedge clippers and chainsaws, and we stopped it. But the government, when that happened, they came in and they put a tent over everything, and they got rid of all the evidence, because in a small town you don't want people to know there was a bunch of sharks that were in a tornado. So then, as I got older, I blocked it out because went through a lot of sessions with the government about this, and then I go, oh, Sharknado is a great. Oh, that happened. Doesn't matter. We're making a movie about it anyway. So it is a documentary.
Seriously though, the thing I loved about it, and I talked to Ian about it a little. 1950s and 70s had a lot of these monster movies. Empire of the Ants, The Blob, The Thing. It's been a long dead genre. In a lot of ways, you brought it back. How has it been for you kind of bringing us back to the classic genre in a very serious way?
Well, I'll give sci-fi credit, because they did like 150 plus of these types of movies on their Saturday Night Movies. So you were getting things like Mansquito and Sharktopus. And, I was tasked with coming up with ridiculous ideas sometimes. And one of them, with Jacob Hare and I, pitched Sharknado a couple times, and that's where it came from. Was like, let's do something crazy. And when that word salad came together, we just loved what it was, and we knew there was something special about it. Didn't realize that everybody else would soon find something special about it too, because how many of these things, you've had mashups before, but I think it was because we were unafraid to just have fun with the concept. We didn't take the premise. We took the characters and the situation seriously, but we go, it's all everything's fair game. I'll say that the thing that changed everything was when we were doing the first movie, I had so many people ask me or tell me, sharks can't exist in tornadoes. And I would go, yeah, and robots don't turn into cars. Why are we so hung up on this? And I go, the thing is the reason they exist is they're not sharks. It's not a tornado. It's a Sharknado, and that's our villain. And so because of that, every subsequent movie, that was the mythology, is that it could do whatever we tell it to do. So it can take down a plane, it can time travel, because it's not sharks in a tornado, it's a Sharknado. And that actually was liberating, because it just opened up the floodgates to imagination.
Well, I think what also helps is it is a guy just trying to save his family. So you're grounding in reality. Do you think that helped kind of let us accept the fantasy?
Well, yeah, and I think that's actually a lot of these movies in general. It's like, oh, the scientist is going to go solve this problem, or the military is going to solve the problem. And in this case, it was this family. And when I was working on it before we started shooting, I was like, here's Finn, who has to lose everything at the beginning of the movie to gain something, and that makes it an interesting, compelling story. He loses his bar. He had previously lost his wife, and he was estranged from his family in a weird way. He loses his car, and he loses, everything is gone at the end of the film. But he has a sense of family at the end of that movie, and that actually was the mandate for each subsequent movies. Was let's show this evolution of this family in all 6 movies. And yes, that's why I think people resonated, because they could relate to him. The second movie was about renewing the vows with April. Third one was about getting a chance to do having a kid again. And 4th through 6 was basically kind of rebuilding everything to the point where time got reset to 2013 in that bar, and all the good deeds and things that he did, he's in a much better place. And that was, and I think that's why people related to it, whether you want to accept it or not. Subconsciously you were rooting for these characters, and we got to follow them all the way through with the same leads. Ian and Tara both came back, same director, all 6 movies, which never happens in a franchise. You might have someone that comes in 2 or 3, but we were there from the beginning, and I think that's what's special about the film.
Now, what I'm excited about, I love movies in the movie theater. It's my favorite thing. How is it, because next month we get to see Sharknado on the big screen. How has that been for you?
It's been a blast, because I get to finally finish the movie. These were TV movies. We had 6 months from start to finish, and some stuff was abandoned, like we couldn't finish some shots, or there was other stuff, and it was color corrected by our different color corrector than we normally did. Who did a fine job, but toward the end of the movie, it just got washed out. And I've seen it on the screen previously, and it's just like, I just as a filmmaker, my heart sinks. So I go, if we're going to remaster it, can we recolor credit? Sure. Hey, maybe we should 4K it. And then go, why don't you go look in the archives and see if there's anything else to put in the movie? So I got to do my own George Lucas special edition, except in this case, I get to kind of finish it and make it a little better. There's a few extra shots that were originally intended that we couldn't finish, so they didn't end up in the movie. So now they're in this version. A lot of the shots are being up-res to 4K, so I mean it looks pristine, and I get to color correct the movie. So we say it's more Sharks and more NATO, but it's also just the movie is always going to exist as a sci-fi movie, the original movie. This is just we're calling it the theatrical experience. So there's a whole generation of people that know of Sharknado that have never seen it. So now they can watch it and not go, oh, it's a little fuzzy and it's a little out of focus or whatever, because it's up-resed. But here it's now the full theatrical experience. And recently, Joe Bob Briggs had the last drive-in. They had the original on Shudder. And I was following on Twitter and doing some live tweeting, and I realized that 80 to 90% of the people that were watching it had never seen the first movie. There's this impression of what Sharknado is, but people don't know what it is because it's just something they've heard. So we're going to have the fans that are come out, but we're going to introduce a whole new generation to this, and that's why I think it worked, because we dared people to watch our movie, going, "There's no way they can live up to this premise." And then if you watch the film, it's like every 5-10 minutes something crazy is happening, which you're not supposed to be able to do on a budget that we had and the time we had to make it. And so I think that's why people have this affinity for it, because it just doesn't stop. It just keeps topping itself. And we didn't even give away everything we had in the trailer, which normally these low-budget movies, you give everything away in the trailer. But you watch it going, they did that. So it's pretty awesome.